It's a gorgeous July 10th, 2022. We're alongside Norfolk Southern Chicago Line in an area that I've often revered for rail fanning, but haven't done it enough because it's too damn far away from my house. But this is an area in Indiana called Otis Hill. The tracks descend from the east down towards Chesterton and Porter, Indiana. And this is signal 471 right here, 471 miles from Buffalo. Beautiful, peaceful area here. And this is the busiest section of Norfolk Southern track found anywhere on their widespread system. A lot of foreign power can be seen on trains here, especially leading since there are no cab signals. So we're going to rail fan at a few places along Otis Hill. It's a deceptively steep grade for Indiana. I think it's 1% for eastbounds, and some trains have stalled on this hill. And at 2:23 Central Daylight Time, we have an eastbound coming up to the Holmesville Road crossing, Holmesville Avenue. It's working up the grade. Indeed, a heavy train going up that grade. Looks like it was maybe a train of feed, powered by a C44-9W, those ubiquitous damn things, and an ES40 DC. 243, we have another eastbound fighting up the hill. You don't have to wait long for a train on this section of Norfolk Southern. This Chicago line through here is the busiest on the system with 70 plus trains a day. NS, some CP, and Amtrak. Westbound intermodal. I don't have a scanner for this territory, so I have no idea what train that was. But he didn't have any high priority stuff on him. Powered by another C44-9W on the point. Friendly toot from the engineer. Now we got a westbound at 257. It's an intermodal, and this guy will be mowing much faster going down the grade. Haven't seen any foreign power yet, though. I bet J.B. Hunt is looking down from heaven with a big smile on his face with that train. It was loaded with J.B. Hunt. He had some FedEx on him, too. I'm not sure what train that might have been. It might have been 21Z out of Rutherford, Harrisburg to Chicago. No way of knowing. And we've moved further down the hill to the west at the Otis Road crossing in the town of Otis proper. I can hear a distant westbound at 3:31 p.m. He'll be coming down the hill at a pretty good clip. I don't know of any places in the eastern half of the United States that have this kind of traffic density with this kind of scenery. It's very pastoral in a lot of places. I mean, Horseshoe Curve is very busy, but I don't think it sees as many trains as this line does, and I'm discounting helper movements. Okay, this time we have some foreign power on the point. I see armor yellow, and that signifies that it belongs to the greatest railroad in the world, the Union Pacific. This is probably a UP interchange train for Proviso. right, power was an ES44AC and an AC4400 CW from Uncle Pete's Railroad. Hope to see some of the UP in the coming week. I'm betting that symbol was 39E that runs from Elkhart, Indiana to Proviso Yard in Chicago, Union Pacific. Now we move further west down the hill. We're just east of Milepost 474, an abandoned private crossing in a nice shady spot that's well lit in both directions. You can see how pastoral the countryside is around here. A friend of mine from New Hampshire back in 1999, right after the Conrail split, did a 24-hour marathon on Otis Hill with the Norfolk Southern. And it's fairly busy, not as busy as it is today. One eastbound train went up the hill in the middle of the night and its engines conked out and it had to be pushed up the hill by another train. Got a westbound approaching going downhill at 3:55. Absolutely picture perfect day. Quite a storm that thing created. It was loaded with domestic containers. It could have been 21Q from Morrisville, Pennsylvania to Chicago. Well, here's the milepost, measured the distance from Buffalo. And here's a relic that milepost replaced. The corpse of an old New York Central milepost. Wonder if I can put this in my trunk. But I think I'd be riding with my front axle in the air if I did. 413 is the sweet sound of a K5 LLA horn, I believe. Might be a Union Pacific SD70 ACE, judging by the sound of that horn. I don't think Norfolk Southern has SD70 ACEs that sound like that. You'll see them slogging up the grade past Milepost 474. I can hear GM power roaring down there. doubt if one engine could be pulling this train. There's got to be a DPU in there somewhere. Unbelievable. This train doesn't have a DPU. That SD70 ACE is doing it all by himself, and this was a huge train. Well, leave it to the mighty Union Pacific to move mountains, right? My goodness, he could have used another engine for sure. One engine pulling that monstrous train. You can see the severity of this grade. You wouldn't think that a grade in Indiana would be enough to stricken a train, but it can happen, and he almost stalled climbing up this hill. And this is the road going up the hill on the other side of the tracks. Sure doesn't look like Indiana to me. This whole area reminds me of Pennsylvania. Well, we moved down further west to County Line Road. Incidentally, that long stack train with the solo Union Pacific engine was 26N. Runs from Chicago Ashland Avenue to Sandusky, Ohio. And we got an eastbound coming up the hill at County Line Road at 450. That was an eastbound load of coal train. I know where he's going with those DEX reporting marks on the cars. The Detroit Edison Power Plant in Monroe, Michigan, powered by a couple of BNSF AC units. This line really puts on a great show. Oh, my stomach is growling, and so I had to come to this town, Chesterton, Indiana, is the old station. Right here is Riley's Railhouse Restaurant and Bed and Breakfast. And here next to that depot building is this caboose painted for Norfolk Southern. They're not fooling me. That's a former Santa Fe Railroad caboose. I'm not a caboose expert, but these Santa Fe cabooses are among my favorites for cabooses. Seeing one trailing behind the Super C at 90 miles an hour was quite a sight to see. Oh, next to that caboose is a boxcar painted in the Monon paint scheme, the Hoosier line. This boxcar is nothing more than a set of restrooms. The Monon and the Long Island Railroad had something in common. They ran high-hooded C-420s in passenger service, built by Alco. And a building across the tracks has a couple of former South Shore Line MU cars on exhibit. The last time I was here was 1990, and they were there then. Oh, here it is, the famous Riley's Railhouse. Food and bed and breakfast. And they have a rail cam here. Tons of rail fans like to hang out at this crossing. It's very rail fan friendly. Now that's obviously a former Pennsy caboose alongside an old New York Central right-of-way. And here's another caboose painted up for Chicago South Shore and South Bend Railroad. But it's just another former Santa Fe caboose in disguise. Westbound manifest past Riley's Railhouse at 5:39. I was misinformed. I was under the impression it was a restaurant, but it is not. Well, I found a nice Italian restaurant about a half a mile down the street because I thought that Riley's Railhouse was a restaurant, but it is not. It is just a bed and breakfast. I walked into the place and a woman asked me what I was doing, what I needed. I says, "Do you serve food here?" She says, "No, we are a bed and breakfast." Ooh. I was misinformed or I misunderstood something, but anyway, my stomach is full and I'll watch a few trains before I head into Chicago. You know, we take a look at this derelict establishment that looks lifeless, as do these former South Shore MUs. This is the air-conditioned type. They were rebuilt, some of the cars, for air conditioning, and they operated before the Sumitomo cars were delivered. South Shore Line is not too far north of here. Yeah, at 7:30 there's an NS train stopped to the east, but he's got to wait for 3 Amtrak trains to clear Porter, 354, 364, and 370. So it'll be a while before he goes. So we'll finish up this day on the busy NS Chicago Line and see what a busy line it is and some of the scenic areas it goes through in northwestern Indiana over Otis Hill.